Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. Now, I might be a little bit behind, but bear with me. You see, the sixth of the Destiny of the Doctors was called Trouble in Paradise. But unlike the others, this one opens with the 11th Doctor's intervention. Written by Nev Fountain, the man recently also responsible for the remarkably good Mervyn Stone on CD. More of that when I get around to reviewing it. We have Peri giving us her all in this story set in the time of Columbus. Just like the others, this has a whole companion chronicle feel to the whole thing. No other Doctors appear. There is one other actor, making it a two-hander, playing the part of Columbus. Now, for reasons which are obvious to anyone, Nev knows the character of Peri particularly well. And also, he's managed to work out the strengths of Nicola Bryant's performance. Nicola Bryant, now this may come as a shock to some people out there, is not an American. I've just let that sink in for a few minutes with you. She's not an American. Yes, that performance in the 80s was a performance. Now, if you were English and aged about 12, you didn't realise she wasn't an American. There are rumours that she wasn't an American on set for a very long time, but after interviewing her, we kind of realised that that's just made-up fan myth. But many, if not all, Americans can see through her accent in a second. Similarly, in many respects, to the way that, well, the English people can see through an American doing an English accent in less than a second. It's just not quite right. But that's not what we're here to discuss or dissect or even talk about. No. The important bit is it any good? Well, like I said, the 11th Doctor has been interfering in these earlier stories, left, right and centre, well, mainly towards the end of the narratives, in order to say, oh, while you're there, can you pick something up? This time, however, the 11th Doctor sends the 6th Doctor on a mission. It has a whole CIA, Celestial Intervention Agency, feel to the whole thing. He wants to get the 6th Doctor to pop along somewhere and pick up a paradox machine. The Doctor promptly builds a little detector and sets the course and goes along and picks it up. This is a paradox in itself, but he does need something of immense power. Now, if you were making a list of all of the things that he'd collected over the time, you'd have a list of about 5 so far, because the 11th Doctor's interference in the first story was merely to save Susan. It would be ideal, of course, if the two-hander at the end, in fact, was the 11th Doctor and Susan, but we don't know who's doing the 11th Doctor story just yet. Now, for those of you who actually know some history, Columbus was not a nice chap. Yes, he did one really cool thing. Or rather, he got his men to do a really cool thing by getting the Queen of Spain to pay for it. Yes, and using some sort of, well, Viking map might have helped. But no, the guy was notoriously bad at navigating, and yet he still managed to get to America. And people have always wondered how this was managed. Well, of course it was managed with alien intervention. Isn't it obvious? Now, I won't spoil things by going into what kind of alien intervention it is, because that is actually well worth buying. These do only cost £3.99 as a download. That's pennies. And I heartily recommend them. So yes, this is a very, very decent story. It has the funny moments that you associate with a Nev script, but he also knows when to haul it back. His ideas are slightly off the wall when it comes to the alien, but no more than, say, well, a certain 4th Doctor monster, who I'm sure he could be related to. I'll play the trailer and fade away. So until next time, be seeing you.
The sailors prodded Peri and the Doctor up the ladder and forced them to stand on deck, as if waiting for inspection. The ship was sitting in the inlet of an exotic island. Lush green trees and plants surrounded them. Strange noises from even stranger animals hooted and screeched. Exotic birds flew over their heads. Peri closed her eyes and basked in the soft, warm breeze. This was more like it. This was paradise. She looked up and saw a man gazing down at them from the upper deck. He was tall and pale with red hair and piercing blue eyes. He was dressed in simple robes, almost like a monk. He looked familiar somehow, but she couldn't quite place the face. Then she saw two smaller ships near the shore. Her eyes strained to read their names, and at last she could make out Nina and Pinta written on their sides. She gripped the doctor's sleeve urgently. "Doctor, I think I know who this ship belongs to." Just then, she thought she saw something. A shadowy shape lurking behind a timber. A hairy, shadowy shape with horns and a tail. Something that touched upon her darkest fears and superstitions. She stared harder into the shadows and saw nothing. Doctor Who, Trouble in Paradise, performed by Nicola Bryant with Cameron Stewart.
On Saturday the 31st of August 2013, Hooverville 5 will happen. Located in Derby's The Quad, that's in the Cathedral Quarter, one of the best Doctor Who conventions in the UK will happen. Small scale, yes. Intimate, yes. A damn good laugh, most certainly. As well as the obligatory podcasters, this year's guests will include Graham Harper, Simon Fisher-Becker, Kevin Davies, and Alec Wills. More guests are sure to be announced very shortly. For more information, check out thehoovers.org.uk, and to buy tickets, visit derbyquad.co.uk. That's derbyquad.co.uk for more information. And if you're attending, be seeing you. You've been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its connected properties are copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. Whostrology, a Time Traveller's Almanac, is available through Telos Publishing or Amazon. Visit www.whostrology.com for further information. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.